He hauled trash behind mansions for $11 an hour. No one ever looked at him, until a barefoot boy dragged a billionaire out of his own house and saved his life. This isn't a story of success. It's the story of someone we chose not to see. The metal groaned, a sharp, rusty screech. Marcus wrestled the overloaded trash bin across the slick alley, the wheels rattling over broken glass. His boots, soles worn thin, slipped in the cold puddle spread beneath the bin's shadow. A dog barked somewhere, distant but sharp, like it knew something was coming. His gloves were cheap, bought at a gas station 5 winters ago. The hole in the right thumb let the early morning air slice straight into his skin. He winced, more at the ache in his lower back than the cold. Behind the mansion's thick walls, there was a soft hiss, like a stove igniting. He paused, just for a second, eyes narrowing. Then he kept walking. The world didn't need him to notice things. Later, the alley was quiet again. The sun had climbed just enough to throw pale light onto the red brick. Marcus was almost done with his route when he saw the kid. Small, knees pulled to his chest, bare feet flat against the concrete. His breath came out in short white clouds. He didn't cry, just stared at the bin like it might offer something. Marcus reached into his coat, pulled out the sandwich he'd made the night before, 2 slices of white bread and peanut butter. He knelt slightly, placed it down on the crate near the boy's elbow. Then he stood. "I didn't see you," he said, and kept walking. The diner was quiet, still caught between the night crowd and the morning rush. Marcus ordered a coffee, black, no sugar, and stood near the register while it poured. He took 2 napkins instead of 1, folded them neatly, slid them into his pocket. On the mounted TV behind the cashier, a news anchor chirped about local development. Ethan Caldwell's latest initiative will transform the Northwest Corridor. Marcus's brow twitched, just a little. He didn't turn to look, but the cup in his hand stopped just short of his lips. Ethan Caldwell sat behind smoked glass and antique tile. His kitchen was bright, sterile. A staff member lit the stovetop, unaware, or pretending not to be, that the gas had already started leaking. The hiss was steady now, pushing against the silence like a warning no one would hear. Ethan was on the phone. His tone was clipped, calm, full of certainty. "We'll bulldoze the last block by next week," he said. "I'm not interested in protests. People adapt, or they disappear." He didn't notice the child's hat on the coat rack near the door. Or maybe he did, but he didn't ask. When he grabbed his briefcase, the hat fell. He didn't stop. Outside, glass rattled in its frame as a small hand pounded against it. Ethan frowned, approached slowly. On the other side, the boy, dirty, shaking, was mouthing something, eyes wide. Ethan cracked the door just enough. "What the hell?" The boy's voice was ragged. "Gas. They came last night. In black." Silence. Ethan blinked, looked over his shoulder, thought about calling someone. Then, slowly, pulled out his phone. Sirens cut through the morning. Fire engines, gas company trucks, news vans. "If you'd gone in," the technician told Ethan later, standing near the driveway, "you'd be dead." Ethan didn't answer. He turned. The boy was gone. He found him near the dumpster, same one from before, eating crusty bread like it was dinner. Ethan stood a long time, then crouched beside him. "Where do you live?" he asked. The boy didn't look up. "Here." No response. Just the 2 of them, sitting on cold pavement. In Ethan's mind, a different image surfaced, blurry, but sharp in the way old wounds are. A younger version of himself, teenager. His brother, smaller, curled on a bench at a bus stop, sniffling through a hole in his jacket, their father's voice echoing, "You take him? I'm gone." He'd walked away, back then. Now he stared at this boy and felt something pulling tight in his chest. Later, he sat in his car, engine idling. The digital screen glowed in the dashboard. Charity database, past donors, names. He typed in Noah, hit enter. A file came up. Former resident. Discharged last winter when the shelter lost funding. One of the shelters Ethan himself had defunded. He closed his eyes. His hands clenched on the steering wheel. Across the street, under the shadow of the rebuilt condos, Marcus stood watching. One hand tucked into his coat. The other held a photograph. Creased, sun-faded. A man and a child, smiling once. Marcus touched the face with a thumb, then crushed the photo in his palm. His lips barely moved. "You built on my home," he whispered. "Now I'm just a shadow." And still the wind pushed down the alley. Still no one turned to look, but something had shifted. The silence wasn't the same. The boy stood barefoot in the entryway. Marble tile stretched out in front of him, smooth and cold like ice. The butler frowned, took one look at the mud smudged around the boy's ankles, and didn't hide his discomfort. "Shoes off at the door," he said stiffly. Ethan stood behind the boy, silent. The paws hung there, tense, waiting to snap. "He doesn't have any," Ethan said finally. The butler blinked, but didn't argue. He stepped aside. Noah didn't speak, just stepped forward slowly, shoulders hunched like he expected someone to stop him. No one did. That night, the house was quiet, the kind of quiet that feels full of eyes. Ethan sat in his study, staring at an email but not reading it. He heard something, soft movement, a fridge opening. He found the boy standing with the door ajar, half a bottle of water in his hand. The kitchen light made his face look older, shadows where they didn't belong. Ethan didn't say anything, just walked over, crouched, and pulled out a second bottle, handed it over. They sat on the floor. Neither spoke for a while. Noah looked straight ahead. "You don't sleep much," he said, voice flat. Ethan glanced at him. "Neither do you." Noah sipped his water. "You scared of the dark?" Ethan let the question sit. "Used to be," he said. Then added, "You?" Noah shrugged. "I slept in it." At the social services office, Marcus stood in front of the desk. The woman behind the glass didn't look up from her screen. "We can't help if you don't have a permanent address," she said, voice clipped. "I'm trying to get one," Marcus said, low. She didn't answer, just tapped a few keys. "I got a son," he said after a second. "Used to be in the system. You can submit a request, but you'll need proof of employment and housing." He pressed his lips together. The muscles in his jaw shifted. Then he turned and walked out. Outside, he leaned against the wall. His chest rose too fast. He looked up, trying to swallow the air, trying not to break. At the construction site, Ethan stared at the steel skeleton of the building taking shape. Sparks flew from a welding torch. The place smelled like heat and metal. He remembered voices years ago, shouting as demolition crews tore through the old housing complex. "We have children in here!" He hadn't stopped the bulldozers. Now, he looked up at the cranes and didn't move. Julia, the architect, noticed the change before anyone said a word. Ethan's proposals came back with unexpected red lines. Smaller units, shared spaces, revised pricing. She brought the papers into his office. You want to open part of the new build to shelters. He looked up. His eyes weren't sharp like they used to be. They looked tired. Draft the permits. She hesitated. Are you okay? His answer was slow. Was there ever doubt? Noah followed Ethan through the hall of a run-down shelter, its walls scraped and yellowing. A woman stepped forward, tough, worn down, her badge cracked at the edges. You've got nerve, she said. Funny, this place is half empty because of you. Ethan didn't flinch. I'm not here for apologies. She folded her arms. I need your intake system, process, records. I want to build something that works. She studied him, as if waiting for a punchline. But none came. He added quieter, they're not shadows. We just don't look at them. Marcus stood in line outside a temp agency, hands in his pockets. When he finally sat down inside, the manager scanned his paperwork. You've got a record, the man said. That's a red flag. Marcus nodded once. I did time, but I'm clean now. The manager leaned back. City's not a daycare. No one's going to hand it to you. Marcus stood, didn't argue. The door clicked behind him. On the back of his jacket, the name patch was barely legible, but it was still there. The lights were blinding. The gala stage gleamed with brass and velvet. Ethan stood behind the podium without a script. His hands gripped the edges, but not out of nerves, just to stay grounded. This fund, Second Horizon, it wasn't my idea, he began. I didn't think it was needed. I was wrong. The room was silent. There was a boy. No shoes. He walked through the dark, pulled me out, saved my life. People shifted in their seats. Some wiped tears. Some just stared. He let the silence return. If he hadn't come, I wouldn't be standing here. Noah sat next to him in court. The boy's feet didn't quite reach the floor. The judge leaned forward. You're requesting temporary guardianship? Ethan nodded. Why you? Ethan's voice was steady. Because he stayed. When I was his age, I walked away from my brother. I didn't stay. The judge looked at him a long moment, then nodded once, signed the paper. In the back pew of an empty church, Marcus sat alone. The space smelled of wood polish and cold stone. On his cracked phone screen, the video of Ethan's speech played again. This boy saved my life. The words spilled out of the tiny speaker, soft and echoing. Marcus didn't cry, but his shoulders rose with each breath like the air had grown heavier. He looked up at the stained glass. His hands gripped the edge of the pew. Outside, the wind pressed gently against the windows. And inside, it was quiet, but not empty. Something else had started. Julia stood on the steps of City Hall, sunlight glinting off the press badges and cameras below. Her voice was clear, firmer than before. We used to talk about glass, she said. Facades, design, but buildings don't mean anything unless people belong inside them. She paused, looked straight into the lens. Now I think about who we leave out. At the boardroom table, Ethan sat alone across from his old partner. Suit sharp, teeth sharper. You're going to sink the whole brand, the man snapped. Developments, press, our contracts, this charity circus, it's poison. Ethan leaned forward, elbows on the table. If the brand can't handle people, he said, then it was never worth anything. Noah stood on the edge of the schoolyard, arms tight against his sides. The new shirt didn't quite fit. Too clean, too stiff. A rubber ball hit his chest. He caught it, blinking. Another boy grinned. "Who even is that?" someone muttered. Then a voice. "He saved somebody's life." The group stilled. The boy who'd thrown the ball stepped closer. "You serious?" Noah gave the ball back. No one laughed. It bounced once, then twice. Later that day, Ethan found Marcus behind the old lot, leaning against the fence like he belonged to the brick itself. Ethan didn't say hello. He just held out a key. Marcus didn't move. "It's not a favor," Ethan said. "You lost something. I can't give it back. But this—" He tapped the key against his palm. "This is something I still have." Marcus looked at him. His eyes were dark, unreadable. He took the key. The office at Child Welfare was quiet. Marcus sat in the chair with his cap in his lap. A boy, older now, came through the door. Wary, backpack hanging from one shoulder. He didn't hug his father, but he didn't look away either. Marcus's voice was thin, low. "I wasn't gone. I just didn't know how to come close." The boy blinked, then sat. Noah sat in the front seat of Ethan's truck, watching the road roll past. The sky was heavy with spring, soft and gray. Ethan reached into the glove box, pulled out something wrapped in an old napkin. The hat. The one from the coat rack. The one from the beginning. He offered it. Noah took it, turned it in his hands. Then quietly, he placed it back in Ethan's lap. "It's yours now," he said. "You stayed." Hammers echoed in the air. The site was loud with movement. Volunteers, contractors, neighbors. A new wall rose, one stroke at a time. A boy painted letters in red. "Second Horizon." Beneath it, a line was scrawled in smaller script. "Built by the ones they forgot." Marcus wore a work belt again. Wires coiled at his side. On break, he sat on the curb, wiping sweat with his sleeve. Beside him, his son tapped at a tablet, legs swinging in the sun. For a moment, they didn't speak. Then the boy looked up and grinned. Marcus blinked once, then smiled back. Morning light stretched across the old street, where dumpsters once sat. A playground now glinted with paint and rubber. The wind scattered leaves across the benches. A boy, barefoot no longer, walked across the square, each step silent and steady. That evening, in a quiet room with soft chairs and no clocks, the three of them sat. Marcus, Ethan, Noah. No words for a long while. Just the creak of an old chair, the whisper of dusk. Then Noah looked up, voice nearly a whisper. You're the one I trust now." A beat. "'Cause you stayed."